Welcome, welcome, welcome. Adriane here, your quantum love coach. I greet you with all my heart from beautiful Ammersee near Munich in Germany, where I'm still residing over the summer here in beautiful Germany, close to the Alps. And it has been a magnificent time since I recorded the full moon reading for last month. That was very, very early August, and we're still August, and today is a full moon in Pisces, and the sun, of course, is in Virgo. And with this Pisces moon, I feel we are some sort of completing some kind of energetic realm. We have Mercury retrograde, so there's wonderful things going on. Yeah, I want to introduce myself to those of you who listen to me the first time. I do this very briefly. The reality is that as a love coach, I have the privilege to listen to enormously many different kinds of relationship stories, problems, and ultimately also helping finding solutions and pathways into much happier and much more passionate times in my client's life. And I'm often asked, why is the element of the spiritual and the energetic and the quantum energy such an important part in my work? And as more I grow as a spiritual being, as more I develop skill sets as a coach, and more than everything, as more I mature as a woman in my, very, ready years to understand relationships from a much, much, much more developed and ripened and also, a really developed conscious place. And I really try to be that woman. And when I say try, then, it takes two to tango. It takes that masculine and feminine element to reflect back. I'm still single at this time of my evolution, and it's not always easy to be single as a love coach. And that's the second thing I want to mention. The spirituality behind everything I teach, coach, and also help people in is really almost like my altar, being around me, speaking in reflection to the woman who is physically and personally present in every moment. So today, 31st of August, we are looking at, like every month, at full moon, at the polarity between the feminine and the masculine for lovers that are in established relationships, couples. We're looking into the dynamic of, or the energies for feminine and masculine singles, and of course, which is my speciality, my so-called lovers in transit. And that is the group that I focus most on. So if you're asking what is your core group of people you coach, they're usually people in a very, more mature age group. Usually they have long-term relationships behind them. Not always. I coach a lot of younger people, in their 20s, a mom of children in their 20s, and naturally a lot of energy comes my way through friends, through family, and through other networks. But there is also the understanding that in this lovers in transit space is this awareness that my own evolution, my own real understanding about what worked and didn't work for me over the last 30 to 40 years of my my married lives, and also what really is it, what now, so many years later, after a book like John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, what do we do now 25, 30 years later with our relationships? And I have the privilege to be part of the Mars-Venus coaching team. So I just simply start, like every month, with the Kuan Yin oracle to find a very genuine, general, beautiful energy for us. And it's this month, the Maiden Magu. And I want to read out for you what this is. This is number 16. And 16 speaks about the Maiden Magu, goddess of spring. And in some places in the world is actually spring very soon, which is pretty amazing, because when you look at it, I'm sitting in Germany as a New Zealander, and spring is about to start today, you know, on the 1st of September officially in New Zealand in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're talking about healing and transformation. Being you in your brings your assistance now. You are asked to honor that light that comes from even the darkest beginning, beloved one. In fact, sometimes we need to center into the unknown parts of ourselves to find exactly what we need to grow in peace, creative self-fulfillment, and happiness. And the challenge can be trust that we will arise from this darker place again, just as the spring always follows the winter, beloved. So too will inner work with the shadow precede a beautiful rebirth for you. So I'm showing you this card once again. It's a very, very beautiful card, and I just leave it here for us as part of the overall energy. So, you know, the winter has passed and spring is coming, and here it gets a little bit cold already, but I think we will still have a number of very beautiful warm days to come. And yeah, I think as always the magic in different places in the world. So I want to speak about the couples, and I want to speak about masculine and feminine, and I start with the card that's coming up right away for the masculine, which is the Ace of Earth. And the invitation really to the masculine in relationship is to be very conscious that this level of fulfillment and responsibility for the greater good of all and for the greater good of the relationship really lies in the ability to be present, to be totally eye to eye with what is presenting itself in the relationship, in life overall, and what comes externally back from the relationship surrounding to the couple and to the individual. So the feminine, however, deals with a very different energy, and that is 6 of fire, which is 6 of Wands, which is a beautiful card. When we look at the 6 of Wands in other, in other tarot decks, then we see this beautiful female with this kind of groan on her face and this wonderful awareness of victory and things to come. So it's a really success combination this month, this earthliness, this appearing in each other's lives as bringers of luck, as a supporter to make success and wonderful things happen on the material plane and on the physical plane for both parties in the relationship. So the invitation is to really be super present and to be very, very aware of one another's needs, and maybe a little bit this month also about each other's wants. You know, what is the externalization? What is the manifesting desires that are coming into the mix of that beautiful space? And what can you as man and woman, or as female and male energy, as polarity between the two, give each other that, you know, almost compounds the beautiful energy you already share with one another in so many ways. Let's go to our singles, and I get the message to use this beautiful Work Your Light deck, which is Rebecca Campbell's deck. And I feel to say that singles, the classic singles, do not go through always an easy time. And I speak often about, when I say the classic singles, then I have almost the feeling that the classic singles and the actual lovers in transit are not so far apart anymore. But there are lots who have been singles for a long time, and I guess I want to really speak to those of you. And the masculine speaks about the crumbling. And we had the tower last month, I believe, for the masculine as well here. And it is almost like, you know, what are you clinging on to? It's almost like it cannot sustain itself any longer. You need to accept the fact that the old has to go in order to completely, you know, get ready for this happiness and for this luck to come. And for the feminine, it speaks about the council of light. It's, you know, look at all these beautiful beings here on the card, particularly these angelic beings that sit together and have this conversation. And it's about divine orchestration. It's about helpers in the subtle realms. And it is really about asking for help. And we had that same similar message last month as well for the feminine. You know, go out and speak about what is really missing in your life and ask for help in the realm of circles of friendships, you know, even in events that help singles to be happier people. And that doesn't need to be a dating event, or it can, of course, it's wonderful if you have, you know, the interest and courage to go out and meet people this way. But I talk much more about, you know, integrating your higher needs, your spiritual and your developmental needs into the realm of your physical world. And men will arrive on a place where they soon feel that their singlehood is not sustainable anymore without accepting that, you know, the female species and the female, you know, energy is inviting to a much more profound and loving and integrated way of relating. And that probably gives a lot of males, you know, the last kick from behind to really, really look at their shadows and see what can be done to have happier relationships and not just taking something that happens around us, you know, for granted. I think lots is taken for granted at many times, and I think when, you know, men leave women and free themselves up and actually value freedom and love for the new and the young and the independent, then there comes also the responsibility to really be ready for that new energy in a way that leaves everything behind, that stops that new partner or that new resonance in the feminine, masculine space to be really, you know, embraced and feel satisfied and truly, truly respected. So I get now a calling to get for all of us some Australian bushfly essences. I have actually already got 3 for us, but I will get a 4th one later at the end. But the first one that came up today for all of us is, or for all of you, feminine and masculine, beautiful, energetic beings. The first one is 5 corners, and it speaks about love and acceptance of self and self-confidence. You know, like we saw in the couples dynamic, there is this real deep understanding that we can be confident, we can get out and stand for what we really want and be utterly present with one another, and not just with one another, with everybody we meet. The second card that is coming in the second essence is kangaroo paw. Kangaroo paw is actually a little bit being unaware and almost a little bit, you know, what is a word is when you not see you know, the stone in front of you and you may trip. But it's also the sensitivity to situations and other people's needs. And I think it's really about awareness, and it brings something into, you know, perspective, what we just talked about, that there is a real need for, you know, the single realm to speak openly and to let anything and everything go that is not supporting the others any longer. And with that comes a beautiful card which is called Slender Rice Flower, and it's about group harmony and conflict resolution. And I think looking at the world, it's a very, very, you know, tender world at the moment. We are all very sensitive to what we receive from outside, and I think this gives a beautiful, beautiful energetic support to feel more held and to be more, you know, feel more safe, and also be more willing to be vulnerable and take the risk. And the fourth one I now want to share with you is Southern Cross, and it has to do with personal power, taking responsibility, and certainly is a flower essence together with the 5 corners. When you look at the abundance mix and the abundant blends Ian White has created for the Australian bushflower essences, then these both essences are part of the abundance blend. So they really help these 2 cards, these 2 essences, these 2 flowers, to be much more open to receive, to much more be open to see the greater good of all in sharing and giving and receiving equally. So, and now we come to my beloved lovers in transit, and I just feel that will be this time my very favorite light seer tarot, and we're just looking into 2 cards that coming up, first for the masculine and then for the feminine. So the masculine is Judgment. Yeah, it's Judgment Day, Judgment Month, I think. For many, it's about making decisions. It's about being truthful, and it's certainly about being assertive. And the assertiveness has to do with a truth that only can be discovered when you spend time alone. I see in this card, I get the message that it's super important for masculine energy to spend time alone in finding out what is really wanted and needed. And actually the same for the feminine, in a more spiritual and more, you know, developmental way, where we actually allow, you know, our inner awareness to grow to a level where we master, you know, where we come to this beautiful higher peak moments of experience, where we understand that we have learned, you know, to master our emotions, our spiritual needs, and more than anything else, the awareness that we do not need anybody else to be happy and to be safe and to be complete. And what it does to these very transitional beings, you know, coming out of relationships, going into new relationships, wanting to be ready, I feel there's a message now that I want to give still to through the Da Vinci Tarot. It's a very beautiful deck I have introduced in other readings, and I totally want to, you know, give one more card, and it's the 6 of Air. The 6 of Air is the 6 of Swords, and it is actually moving forward, moving on, moving into the realm of, it's almost like I risk that in putting myself out there, that what is natural and organic to unlearn will just fall away, but also what can be embraced as a new and totally valuable experience can be, happening in any moment of time. And, the meaning of the card here in the Da Vinci Tarot is a flowering. And I might actually read the soul code, because the soul code in this tarot is some sort of the main understanding how energetically this card describes who we actually become from a more advanced and more developed and more awakened place. It says 6 of air, flowering. Which beliefs and attitudes support or block you? And is that not very, very, resonating with what we actually have in the entire reading in the last, 3 reflections? There is really the ability to distance yourself from dangers or to seek new perspectives from a neutral standpoint helps the soul elevate what needs to change. The path to destiny can be blocked by old beliefs, ideas, and attitudes, and diverted into ever narrowed dead ends. The violet always finds a secret place to flower in safety. So, even if things are not really visible, the seed that we some sort of carry on our path that drops on the soil can then help for these little flowers to blossom and then to grow. So the flowering process is really something super, super magical. And I do end now with another beautiful card of the Guan Yin Oracle. And I feel I want to, just acknowledge Alana Fairchild for this amazingly beautiful deck. And the card that appears here is Drink from the Emerald Fountain. And it is actually a very, very, I feel it's a card that speaks about the process of how we, become who we really want to become. And let's just read what Alana is saying about this. It's a number 7. We had the card 16 before, so 16 and 7, and both are 7s today. Yeah, here again is this beautiful Maiden Magu, and we have Drink from the Emerald Fountain. And number 7 is saying in this deck, yes, just lovely. The divine feminine is encouraging of the awakening and empowerment of all living beings. When a sincere seeker is trying to find the way through, there is much help sent. It makes sense to be open to receive it, indeed to step forward and drink from the Emerald Fountain, which is the unconditionally loving heart chakra of Guan Yin. Allow yourself to be nourished by the power and love of the Divine Mother, flowering and flowing to you now. And that is really what gives us the last energetic, understanding about the beautiful composition and integration and interplay of masculine and feminine energies. And I think if there's something in it for you to discover, I have a particular love working with entrepreneurs, executives, and people who are in professional and life situations that are challenging and where life-work balance is very hard and difficult to maintain. And I do see that often relationships get into crisis, challenge, or even into breakups very unwantedly. And if you are ready to really look at all aspects of your life and then come to a conclusion that in order to have good relationships, you do need to adjust things that relate to earning money, to relating to people outside your intimate space, and also to how you feel in your body and what is ultimately really, really healthy and sustaining for you. We don't want to burn out and come into situations where the relationship suffers because other areas of our lives are ultimately not in check or in total integration with other things we really, really want to achieve. So if this interests you, I give you the gift of 30 minutes of my time, which I call a discovery call. The link is below in the description box. Like every month you find that. Also you see a beautiful link to a film I produced with Dr. Lipton. He is interviewed by me 2011 actually about quantum intimacy, and it was really 12 years ago when I started my journey discovering deeply what can make, you know, spiritual and awakened relationships really sustainable relationships. And I think that is the love for my profession, this is the love for my gift to help people to have better lives, happier lives, and ultimately much, much, much more passionate lives. And that interplay, that polarity between feminine and masculine is and stays for me one of the most fascinating and interesting things. And I just yesterday, we had a beautiful coaches call with Dr. John Gray and my mentor, and it's just again and again he often speaks so much about what we already have heard many times, but he re-emphasizes so many times that the misunderstanding between the feminine and the masculine and men and women is becoming bigger and bigger, and that it's actually our job to raise the bar and to raise awareness, to really help men and women to begin to dialogue again on levels we haven't been willing to do for quite some time. And it was challenging, and it has been challenging years for us, you know, with lockdowns and with being in very, very exclusive and very, very not very usual, you know, circumstances. But the world is screaming for a liberation from all this pain and suffering and aloneness, and ultimately seeking harmony and community and oneness, deep, deep oneness on our planet and in the world. Thank you so much. I send you love and blessings from Germany, and I see you next month from, I don't know yet where I will be, but I will be here and share with you again my messages to the couples in relationship, to singles, and to my lovers in transit. Be happy, be safe, and be well. Namaste.